Hello everyone and welcome back to everyone's favorite chess variant, the official random variant. Of course, it is Magnus Carlsen versus Sindarov, and it is round 5 of the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Weissenhaus. Magnus not doing all that great. He won 2 games and lost 2 games, but Javokir is doing incredibly well, and if he can do well against Magnus here with the black pieces, he could be leading the tournament after day 1. But we're going to talk about that in a little bit. First, let's see what happened here. It's a really wonderful game. Magnus has the white pieces and he opens with pawn to f3, which would be very weird if this was a normal chess game, but it's not, so it's not weird at all. And here, Javokir already doing some mind games. He plays pawn to f5. He says if f3 is good, f5 must be better. And okay, there's a rook behind the pawn, so obviously it makes sense. We have pawn to d4 and pawn to d6. Magnus goes knight to d3 and knight to f6. We have knight to g3 and knight to g6, pawn to a4 and pawn to a5. So both players just making moves that from experience, that should be good. We have pawn to e4, striking in the center. If Magnus is not having issues with executing pawn to e4, then he should already be better. If there is something, then, could be problematic. So let's see what happens. F captures, we have f captures, and bishop to a7. Grabbing hold of this long diagonal, which also makes sense as there's a queen on g1, and now pawn to h3. Taking away the g4 square from Javokir's pieces, we have pawn to e5, striking in the center, and bishop to e3. Now countering the strong dark square bishop on a7. E captures on d4, bishop captures, we have bishop captures, and Magnus centralizes the queen with queen captures on d4. Bishop to e6, we have castles kingside. For those of you who are maybe watching Chess 960 for the first time, the way you castle is that you have to clear everything in between the king and rook that would usually stop you from castling in normal chess, and then you just put the king to the square where the king would go in normal chess, and you put the rook to a square where the rook would go to in normal chess. So if you started with a king on e1 and the rook on h1, you would castle and the king would be on g1 and rook on f1. Every day, every year I cover like one official random tournament, and then I like to explain those rules at least in one video. So, okay, knight back to d7. Of course, you would also want to play, let's say, queen f7 and castles kingside. The problem is that pawn to e5, and you blunder the game. So this is game over. So after castles kingside, we have knight to d7, now grabbing control of e5 and c5, and also offering a trade of rooks. We have knight to f5, for the moment Magnus stops that, and knight g to e5. We have knight to f4, and bishop to c4, putting pressure on Magnus's rook on f1, rook to f2, getting out of the way, and pawn to g6, chasing away the knight, knight back to e3, attacks the bishop, and now pawn to g5. So what can you do here? We have knight f to d5, rook captures on f2, we have king captures on f2, and now bishop captures on d5, e captures on d5, and knight to c5. And this is the position after 19 moves were played. It's a pretty nice position. Both kings are in the center of the board. Magnus's king looking a little bit weird on f2. Javokir's knights are excellently placed here. You can't really challenge them. b4 is impossible. So what can Magnus do? Not a lot, actually. You would want to free up the light square bishop somehow. It's not really going to do anything on a2, and if you play c3, already you blunder the game. A nice fork here, and you can resign. So Magnus plays rook to a3, hoping to somehow get the rook into the game and maybe get that bishop into the game. But we have queen to g6, now again stopping the advancement of the c-pawn, and queen to d1. Now c3 and c4 are definitely sort of a threat, and Javokir has to be ready for that. And you could see also maybe castles queenside here, but he goes for queen to e4. He's not worried about the bishop on b1, and he says he's going in for the kill. He wants to play pawn to g4, maybe even pawn to h5, pawn to g4. What can Magnus do here? Magnus plays pawn to c4. First he goes after the queen, queen to f4 check, we have king to g1, and now, well, you could maybe play some other moves, castles queenside. The rook will definitely come in handy with the attack on the white king, and Magnus, again, he could play some natural moves here, but he goes for bishop captures on h7. He says, yeah, it's not a problem, I'm just going to grab a pawn. I mean, what could possibly happen? We have king to b8, very useful move, because if if rook h8, then bishop to f5 might come with check, and it might give white a very valuable tempo. So of course Javokir wants to deny Magnus that tempo. And here Magnus played rook to c3. It's not easy to figure out what to play here, but rook to c3 just isn't it. It's a position where there really aren't any good moves for Magnus. One resourceful find would be pawn to g3. It looks like a disgusting move to play, because what's stopping you from queen captures on g3, and then it's check, and then your king side is ruined. But that's why chess is such a wonderful game. If you actually did this, and after knight g2 exposing the queen has no squares. The knight covers these two squares, the pawn covers this square, and the queen is trapped. Well, it would be trapped if you couldn't give up some material to free up some squares. So you could give up a knight, let's say, to free up the e5 square, and then after bishop captures on d3, you could also capture on h3, and then the position, as now the rook is not attacking h3, the black queen can get back into the game, but at the price of a piece, and already you're back in the game. Let's say bishop e2, you attack the queen escapes, queen h7, and now we play. But it's a really, really tricky move to find. Magnus, on the other hand, plays rook to c3, invests some 20 seconds finding this, but now comes a move so silent and deadly, but also brilliant, and that is rook to e8. Look at this move. It seems that it does nothing, but it does everything. There's no good move for Magnus to make here. He brings the bishop back to c2, but now comes knight e to d3. Blocking the rook from defending the knight on e3. And what can you do? You can play rook captures and sort of grab the two knights with the queen, but then there's rook captures on e3, and you're just down the exchange in a much worse position. So this is losing. So after knight e to d3, Magnus has to go for bishop captures on d3. There's no other way to continue the game. Now comes queen captures on e3 with check, as the rook is blocked. King to h2, and now it is important to bring the king back to h1. We have queen to f4 check, king to h1, and now queen to f2. Javokir threatens rook to e1 check to win Magnus's queen. And it seems like there's nothing you can do here, but there is one move. There is rook to c1. However, that falls to pawn to g4. How do you prevent this? Well, queen to f1. Let's trade queens, but there's the intermediate knight captures on d3, or rather the Zwischenzug, knight captures on d3, queen captures on d3, you have to take back your piece, and now g captures and queen captures. And it seems that Magnus got out of this mess, even being up a pawn, but of course that's why we love chess, that's why we play chess. That could not be further from the truth. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Javokir while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding this beautiful maneuver. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is queen to d4. This is what Javokir played, and he was in this position on move 33 that Magnus Carlsen resigned to the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Rook to h8 is coming, and that's it. You either give up the queen or you move the queen, and then it's checkmate, as the king cannot go to g1. So you can maybe free up the king, but then you lose the queen, or you move the queen and then you get checkmated. Now, of course, some of you are probably thinking, well, I thought of queen captures on b2 because it's also the same. Well, yes, it is, but when you can choose between two moves that are equally good, and both of them accomplish the same thing, if you can do so without taking material, it is considered to be the more gentlemanly thing to do, and that is also why we play chess. We're not some barbarians, going around and hitting stuff. We like to find the most elegant solutions, and I believe queen to d4 is much more elegant than queen captures on b2. It's always nicer if you win by capturing less material. At least that is my opinion. I don't know if you guys agree with that. But yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed. A very nicely done by Javokir, taking down Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces with excellent play. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And 5 rounds have been played. So for those of you who are maybe not interested in results, I will now show the standings after 5 rounds have been played. These are the standings. So Fabiano Caruana and Javokir leading with 4.5 points. Both of them have defeated Magnus, so that goes nicely along the lead. Alireza with 3.5 points, also doing well. Nodrbek Abdusator 2.5 points. Then Magnus, Gukesh, and Hikaru and Vincent on 2 points, and Vladimir Ferosev and Levon Aronyan so far on 1 point. And that means that tomorrow we have 4 more rounds of this, and then the top 8 are going into the final stage where they will be playing classical chess, and then I believe we will have better quality games, and people will not just be blundering stuff or pieces or checkmates in a single move, but we will get to enjoy some quality chess. But yeah, until then we're gonna have some fun, and we'll see who else can blunder something. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, very nicely done by Javokir. Not a lot of people can take down Magnus with black, even though here I have no idea if it's even, a disadvantage to play black, because you have no idea what you are doing, and white, white has the first opportunity to mess up the position. So I don't know if it's advantageous to play white here or not. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Rani Lavi, Andreas Rosenthal, Andrei Schrade, David Bacon, and Andrew Steinel for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, but also covering this very nice event until it finishes. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.